Hi everybody, welcome back. We're already into the month of June, and for beekeepers June is known as the June gap. It is a break between the spring flowering plants and when clover comes into flower. So in times past there probably was a gap, but today with a lot of people keeping bees in urban areas, we probably don't have a June gap because there's lots of forage available in gardens. But I was just out walking here and I picked up a whitethorn, hawkweed, plantain, buttercups, bushvetch, speedwell, cow parsley, all growing in the hedgerows around here, and bees are feeding on them. But most of our trees have gone over. Our apple trees have gone over, our sycamore trees have gone over, our chestnut trees. And during the month of May, it was around here, it was very cold, it was very wet, so our bees were using up all the stores they had. But thankfully the weather has changed, so I've been collecting some swarms. I've done a little bit of queen rearing, so things are quite busy in the apiary. But this month we're going to look at some plants growing in the garden. So once we leave here, we'll head back to the garden and we'll have a look at some flowering plants that you can grow in your garden, which will attract pollinating insects, not just honeybees but all pollinating insects: bumblebees, hoverflies, solitary bees and honeybees. We have a fairly large urban garden here with a wide variety of plants growing in it, and all the plants that have been selected here require little maintenance. They're easy to grow and they're attractive to pollinating insects from spring until late summer. Most gardens would have room for a small herb garden like we have here, and here we have chives growing, rosemary and thyme. Chives are related to the onion family. There are a number of ornamental ones available from garden centres and nurseries, which can be grown in the herbaceous border. Ornamental onions are known as alliums. They're bulbous perennials, usually planted in the autumn, and they are incredibly long-lived and bloom for weeks on end, bridging the gap between spring and summer. All alliums have rounded flower heads. They come in shades of purple, pink and white and look really good when planted in large groups. In late summer, male bumblebees can be seen patrolling and defending the flowers while waiting for queens to arrive for mating. There are two other garden plants worth to mention here. One is lamb's ear. It is a ground covering perennial and is noted for its soft fluffy foliage, which is said to feel like a lamb's ear. It flowers from June until August. It has thick silver stems and knotty buds. The flowers themselves are not very conspicuous as they are hidden amongst the felt-like leaves, but once established, the plants are drought tolerant and will grow in a dry sunny border or in a gravel garden. I also have a number of geraniums in flower, like I have Geranium Johnson Blue, Geranium Wargrave Pink, and this one, Geranium Fame, which likes to grow in the shade. These plants are easy to grow, and once they've gone off flowering, they can be cut back and will give a second flush. Geraniums have open bowl-shaped flowers, which makes them very easily accessible to all pollinating insects. This plant here is catmint, and if I was to select only one flower from my garden that attracts pollinators, it would be this plant. The blue flowers attract a wide selection of pollinators from late May to early August. It is a plant that is easy to grow. In late autumn, it can be cut back hard to the ground and will flower again the following spring. This plant here is the wall shrub, Cotoneaster horizontalis. It can be a bit invasive, but its small white flowers will be buzzing with bees all summer long, and its flowers are rich in both nectar and pollen. The common foxglove is a wild flowering plant. They can be found growing in hedgerows and in woods. If you want a cottage garden look, then foxgloves are a must. Some are perennial, but they are mostly grown as biannuals. They do not flower in the first year. Foxgloves are easy to grow from seed and can self-seed very easily. So, if you buy one, you get loads for free. The foxgloves can grow to a height of 1.5 metres, which means they are very good for the back of a border. Even in a small garden, they give height, structure and movement. This plant growing here is called verbascum. There is a native one known as Aaron's Rod, which can be found growing on roadsides throughout the country. It is a super plant for wildlife. Carder bees use the fur on the leaves to build their nests. The flowers attract bumblebees, honeybees and hoverflies, and the foliage serves as a caterpillar food plant. But be careful, it self-seeds and is often found growing on disturbed ground where the long-lived seeds germinate. Every garden must have lavender. They flower from late June to late August. They are a magnet for honeybees and bumblebees. That's because the fragrant plant provides both nectar and pollen. I have English lavender growing. The plant has nice purple flower spikes. To grow well, it needs warm sunshine and free draining soil. But cold, wet soil will see them rot over the winter months. You usually get about 4 years out of a plant before they need replacing. Most of the trees have now gone off flower, but those still flowering include mountain ash, white beam, laburnum, and this one here, cordyline or the cabbage tree. They all provide loads of forage for pollinators in a small area. I don't know if you can see on this tree here, but there are lots of honeybees and bumblebees foraging in the flowers. So that's it for the month of June. There are a lot more plants growing here in my garden and in the surrounding gardens, which will provide forage for all pollinators throughout this month. So, until next month, see you then. Bye.